The UAV attack on an Indian Air Force base marks a paradigm shift in India's war on Pakistan's state-sponsored terror. Here you have terrorists upping their game. Terrorists are using an unmanned aerial vehicle, perhaps high explosives, and intelligence agencies and investigators say the fact that the explosives were able to punch a hole through the concrete roof of that building shows how powerful the explosives were. Now imagine if they'd hit a hangar and hit an aircraft. But does the Indian Air Force have any mechanism to detect this? Well, at this stage, Indian Air Force officers say their radars can target incoming aircraft. They're much faster, much bigger radar signature, and of course helicopters that come in. What about unmanned aerial vehicles? They're much slower. They fly below the radar, and once they come in, so it's perhaps line of sight, you either hear the hum of the drone, you spot it on your binoculars or your cameras, and then you attempt to take it down. That's much easier said than done. There has been a proposal to get those curve radars that can identify these UAVs that are coming in. There are also multiple kinds of UAVs. Now, in this case, what do we know? We know that perhaps it was high explosives. We know that the target was the airbase and they succeeded in targeting the airbase. And then sources in the Jammu and Kashmir police say that similar drones were used in Kaluchak and Ratnuchak. What does this indicate? That military stations have been targeted, and there are a number of military stations in that area. If you'd recall, the Kaluchak military station had been targeted by terrorists even in the past, and there had been severe military casualties, including of army families, when Pakistani terrorists had last targeted the Kaluchak military station. But let's move on. What does this mean? This means aircraft that are flying in or are flying out of Jammu, they are extremely vulnerable. Point one. Point two, military convoys all along the Jammu, Srinagar, Kargil, Leh heights, those military convoys are extremely vulnerable. Is there any way that you can counter these terrorists? Yes, you can. It's easier said than done. But then there are military vehicles with jammers. Once those jammers are operational, the signal from the operator to the drone can be disrupted, and that is where the drone comes crashing down. So will all military convoys move with jammers? That remains to be seen, but that is one step. Step two, as far as military stations are concerned of other VAVPs, vital assets and vital points, they will have to be protected, not just line of sight, but also deploy more jammers, deploy perhaps additional radars, but that is cost being imposed on own self to buy these radars, to be able to detect them, then have those weapons that can discharge ammunition at a very high rate. You have guns that fire at 4,000 rounds or 4,500 rounds per minute to be able to take down these high-flying drones, or have a laser beam, which again is something that is being experimented with, a laser beam that can destroy the drone in the air with its cargo, pulverize it before that target, the ammunition causes much damage on ground. But all of this means imposing cost on self.